Hello and welcome to the Tracy Sandler Show, brought to you by FIVO on the Believe Podcast Network. I do not think I could be more excited about an episode. My guest today, Elisa Hernandez, host of Sports-ish right here on the Believe Podcast Network, and the host of El Snap NFL, the Latino Instagram for the NFL. And before I let Elisa say anything, I promise I'm not going to just talk the whole time while she sits there and just looks adorable. I have to say, we have gone from, in a very short amount of time, baseball besties to football frenemies. We are both diehard Dodgers fans. I brought out my Cody Bellinger bobblehead doll that Elisa was so kind to make sure I have. Anybody who follows me knows how much I love me some Cody Bellinger. Right. And we have bonded over our love for the Dodgers. You were on Get My Job. We talked about it. But today, championship week, we're football frenemies. Me going for the Niners. You going for the Rams.
Of course.
This is going to be fun. Welcome to the show. You can talk now.
Thank you. No, I am super excited to be here. Honestly, this is the best scenario for me because, it's always kind of fun to have that competition with each other, but the Dodgers are the best and we're always on the same side. So it's kind of nice to be on the other side of the fence and kind of have some good competition going.
A couple weeks ago in that Week 18 game, in my post, I said, I'm only going to say this once. # beat LA. So as it turns out, I might have to now say it twice. But it's so funny. It's very weird for me. It's like it's a very strange thing. But at the crux of all of this, NFC Championship game on Sunday at SoFi, we get a repeat of the Week 18 matchup, which was really an epic game. It was like Levi's Stadium South. We'll get into that in a bit.
Oh, man.
But before we get into that, this is going to be a really good football game.
Oh, I cannot wait. This is the mini Super Bowl. I mean, honestly, the Super Bowl is going to have to really live up to the hype. We already know the halftime show is going to do that, but the matchup on the field needs to do the same because the last game was insane. I mean, you had the whole crowd controversy. You had the Rams giving up that, 17-point lead.
Nothing.
Exactly. It's like, and then you guys end up winning 27-24 in overtime to clinch a playoff berth. And then that brought you guys full circle back here. So it's just one of those things that it's like, you didn't take care of the Niners and now they're coming back to haunt you. So what are you going to do this time? Because that's really what all eyes are looking at.
And you make a really good point. You didn't take care of the Niners, and now here they are. And the Niners, as has been well documented throughout the week, but we'll bring it up one more time, have beaten the Rams the last 6 times they played each other. Jimmy Garoppolo 6-0 against them. I look at that Rams game, and I talked about this, I think, on the earlier pod this week, which was that Rams game really turned around the 49ers season, the one in October. They were struggling, and the Arizona game against Colt McCoy and the Arizona Cardinals was a very tough loss and an embarrassing loss for them. Yeah. But it was the Rams game that turned everything around for them. There is something about when these two teams match up, whether, the coaches who used to coach together, talk about frenemies. They really, I think, bring probably new oomph to that word. I really like when I get oomph in just as often as possible. Just prepare yourself there. And it's just, it's going to be interesting. But the way you said that, you didn't take care of the Niners. I'm writing it down.
I mean, I'm saying, because that's really what it comes down to. And, because all eyes were on Stafford getting his playoff win, right? And it's like, you don't realize, like, yes, did they lose that game to the Niners? Of course. But it's like, that's what got the Niners in the playoffs. So it's like, now your ex-girlfriend's coming back to see what's good with you. And LA needs to kind of show up. There's like, no, I moved on. I'm ready to go on to bigger and bigger things, get that ring. Because the truth of the matter is that Stafford is one of the factors that plays here, because he's 1-5 in his career against the 49ers. Week 10, he had over 200 yards, a touchdown pass, 2 interceptions. Week 18, he had over 200 yards, 2 interceptions. He had 3 touchdowns that game, but the 2 interceptions is what kills me, because in that Week 10 matchup, he gave up a pick 6 as well. And those little things that he kind of has been overshadowing by his good game, his big comeback in Tampa, that second half play is what's really going to be one of the things that all eyes are going to be on this time around, because, Sean McVay is very good at what he does, and the Niners are too. And the thing is that Kyle Shanahan has been able to adjust in the second half to kind of get at the Rams, weaknesses, give or take, given, like, it's hard to say that because, you look at this squad and you're like, where's the weakness? But they've been able to kind of figure that out about them, and so that game is gonna be one for the history books, I'm hoping.
Well, and you bring up you bring up a couple of things: the pick sixes, the interceptions, the game in Tampa. Yes, he brought them back, but that should never have been an issue to begin with.
That part.
And if there is a weakness for the Rams, it's the turnovers and the inability to finish games. And we saw that in Week 18, and we saw that last week against Tampa. On the other side of that, you have the 49ers, who seem to find different ways to win every week. They did not have an offensive touchdown on Saturday night in Green Bay. They managed to win on special teams and defense 100%. But their special teams up until this point had been kind of a hot mess. But they ran into a special teams unit that, considering it was 0 degrees, was a hotter mess than the San Francisco 49ers. But they're finding you're welcome for that. Thank you very much. In case you guys want to take a moment to see what I did there, you are welcome. We're here. I'll be here all pod. But you have a Niners team that just finds ways to win, and they're in every game, and they know they're in every game. And that is interesting. And so we're recording this on Friday. Earlier this week, we had recording this on Wednesday, so it'll air on Friday. But earlier this week, we had our Zoom with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I actually asked him, I said, you said after the Green Bay game that you felt you were in control the entire game. Is that something you feel every game, no matter how things are going? And is that why you guys can keep winning? And he said, well, I wouldn't say every game. It just kind of depends on how the game goes. But he made an interesting point. He said, I wouldn't say when we went down 17-0, we felt like we were in control. That being said, they did. They were in somewhat control because they just kept chipping away. And it was kind of interesting when they went in 17-3 at the half. I was like, boy, they have a chance. When Deebo Samuel threw that touchdown pass to Jawan Jennings, I texted my dad and I said, they are going to win this game. Mark my words, they are going to win this game. And they did. So I think that's an interesting point you make. And so you brought up the interceptions, and I want to touch on that some more because Jimmy Garoppolo also has a tendency to throw interceptions where you're like, what was he thinking? And his interceptions really seem to come at times. They just kill a drive. And there was that red zone interception in Week 18. And I think that's going to be a huge part of this game is which of the two quarterbacks does a better job of taking care of the football. Yeah.
No, I agree with you because the truth of the matter is that when Matthew Stafford takes care of the ball, the Rams are 8-0 this season when Matthew Stafford does not throw an interception. So I think that needs to be very much accounted for because there's 6-5 in the games that he does throw an interception. And so I think that that's one of the things that you really need to look at because San Francisco has 4 defensive interceptions over the last 4 games, including 2 versus Stafford in Week 18. So, there's that play comes beneficial for each team when you play each other so close. They just saw this new version of the Niners a couple weeks ago. And so it's not like they're going to see something they haven't seen before. They're not going to see their defensive shifts or their offensive power that they've been having. It's really just making sure that you convert third downs, keep the ball on your side, no fumbles. Cam Akers obviously had those 2 fumbles in that game that would have came back to haunt them had the defense not stepped up the way that they did. The thing is that Rams defense is very, very scary. And I know that the Niners defense is too. So you're right. It is going to come down to the quarterback play and who makes the mistake first, who's going to jump, who's going to let it fly into the wrong hands.
And these teams match up very well against each other. That's why they gave, of course, in Week 10, the 49ers dominated that game, but generally they match up well. And that's what we saw a few weeks ago. And so that is what it will come down to. You brought up the Rams defense, of course, Aaron Donald, who the 49ers have actually done a really good job of containing. And it's interesting because every time they play each other, like my number one thing I say the 49ers have to watch out for is Aaron Donald. And I'm not going to stop saying that because he's Aaron Donald.
Of course.
But they've done an excellent job at containing him. And then you look at the 49ers and their front 7, and there's been so much talent and so many breakout performances there. Nick Bosa, of course, gets a ton of attention and he gets, people are all over him. And then you have Eric Armstead who comes out and does these third down sacks that are just unbelievable. You have Arden Key, who has come in and really flourished with San Francisco in a way that I don't even think Arden Key was prepared for, that he really has. And at DJ Jones. So this becomes really important. It's going to be, on both sides, bringing pressure to the quarterback, taking care of the football, and each team playing. It's like the Rams got to play Rams football and the 49ers got to play 49ers football. And
Yeah. No, I agree with you. But you know what? Von Miller needs to play Denver Broncos Super Bowl 50 football is what he needs to play. Because
I knew those Broncos were going to get in this podcast.
I'm saying. Because look, the truth of the matter is that, yes, you guys have done a very good job of containing Aaron Donald. But now Von is being playoff Von. And with that being said, you're containing Aaron Donald. You got Von Miller coming on the side. That's the number 2 overall draft pick from 2011. So, you need to make sure that you kind of take that into account. And I think the game against Tampa Bay really showed Von and what he can do. He had that big fumble that he caused on Brady. He's known for those kind of big moments. He had one in Super Bowl 50 in San Francisco. It's just a little full circle moment there for him. But
I was there. I do remember it.
So, it's like you have these two defensive fronts, you know what I mean? And they're one of the two, it's the best 1-2 punch combo you could have on this defensive line. And I think that's one of the things that the Rams went out and did. And by getting that power, and at first it was like, oh, he's been 8 games with the Rams, he hasn't done anything. It's like, yeah, well, just wait. And now you're seeing what you were waiting for out of Von. And, Jimmy G better be careful. Because now he's going to up like Burrow on the ground like 8 times in a game. 9 times, actually.
And I think he is going to have to be careful. And he is one of the things that's been talked about this week. He's got to learn when do you take a sack, when do you throw it away. I mean, I would say he's got to learn, obviously. I think he knows, but he doesn't always execute it, properly.
Yeah.
And that is going to be a really important thing. And talking about getting Von Miller, of course, also Odell Beckham Jr. And something the Rams have really done, and I give them a lot of credit for this, they have gone all in. I mean, they really have gone all in. And the way that, whether it works or not, you've got to respect the way they've gone all in. And midseason, they've said, I mean, I think it's true, and there are different ways to build a football team. I think there are a variety of ways you could do it. And this is the direction they've gone. And here they are, one game away from going to the Super Bowl, being the home team.
Hosting the Super Bowl. Back-to-back years.
I know, isn't that crazy? It could be back-to-back years. And
it's insane.
So, they midseason got Von Miller, and then Robert Woods goes down, and they get Odell Beckham Jr. And we are now seeing the Odell Beckham Jr. that everybody's been waiting for, really for a very long time, since the boat picture in the bye week of the playoffs all those years ago. This is the Odell Beckham we have been waiting for. And that does make them scarier. And they're, of course, getting hot at the right time. And I don't know, but then, on the 49ers side, you have Deebo Samuel. And I think what makes him very scary is that teams know what they're going to do with him, but he's so difficult to defend.
Don't matter.
His instincts are unbelievable. If the play calls for him to go this way and he sees this way isn't going to work, the quickness with which he has to pivot it's incredible. And that's you can't really teach that. That's just something you have.
No, I agree. I mean, his football IQ is off the charts. And going back to the OBJ discussion, one of the things that I need OBJ to do is I need him to create separation. I need him to come through and make those big plays and not wait for those big plays to come to him, because OBJ, since he joined the Rams in week 10, they are 5-1 in games where he scores a touchdown. That's including playoffs. 2-2 in games where he doesn't. 2 of those losses were to the 49ers, because Beckham did not score in either against the 49ers with the Rams this season. And he had exactly 2 receptions, 18 yards in each of those games. That's not going to win you this game. I'm telling you right now, and yes, you have Cooper Kupp, but look what happened when OBJ was doing what OBJ does against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You have Cooper Kupp going off. He had 9 receptions for over almost 200 yards. That's insane. And so when you have that tandem, you need to get OBJ involved early. You need to get him over 18 yards involved early, get his confidence going, get that up, because he's really going to be one of those key pieces that's going to win this game for the Rams.
Well, and when the 49ers were struggling about midseason, one of the things Fred Warner talked about, and then one of the things he brought up a few weeks ago, was at that time, their A players weren't playing like A players. You need your stars to play like stars. Right. And he said a few weeks ago, our A players are playing like A players. And so I bring that up because you need OBJ to play like the A player he is. This is a game where all the A players have to be playing like A players. It can't be a game where they're not. Yeah. And someone we haven't talked about yet for San Francisco who's been less involved in the passing game, and I just feel like we are due. We are due for a big one, and that is, of course, the people's tight end, George Kittle.
Mr. Kittle.
our guy,
Yeah.
you reported, Mr. Kittle, who was so good about our bet on the Michigan game and wore that Michigan shirt.
He wished you happy birthday. I saw that.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So I'm very much on like a George Kittle train right now. Go George Kittle. And but he's due for a big game. And against the Packers, he dropped that pass and he caught it. It was probably a touchdown. He probably had over 100 yards in that game. Or he would have had over 100 yards in that game. But we're due. Yeah. We're due for a big Kittle game. And I think that is something, if I'm the Rams and I'm looking at film, I'm thinking it's just a matter of time.
He's one of those guys that even like with it's interesting because with a talent like OBJ, you just expect him to have, playoff touchdowns. And I remember when he got his first playoff touchdown versus the Cardinals, I was like, that's his first touchdown ever in his career. And they were like, they were like, he was on the Giants. I'm like, really? And so
and then the Browns. So I guess
and then the Browns. So like I guess it makes sense when you really look at his career. But Kittle is one of those guys too because he does not have a receiving touchdown in his playoff career. Mm-hmm. That's insane given that they were just in the Super Bowl in 2019 playing the Chiefs. So, he's one of those guys that you're kind of waiting for him to blossom. And what I don't want Kittle to be, because he's such a dynamic tight end, I don't want him to be that kind of tight end that just never goes off in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Because there are players like that, and he's more talented than that. And so, I think with Jimmy G, he just has to pick his time when to hit Kittle because, Jimmy G has thrown 6 passing TDs to Kittle this year. He's also thrown 6 interceptions when trying to hit Kittle. So, it's like he needs to be very mindful. Game. Exactly.
It was intended for Kittle.
Exactly. So I think, it's one of those things that they do have a good relationship. They do have a good tandem. But when you have guys like Jalen Ramsey in the backfield and they're just waiting for that moment, that's one of the guys they know they're going to pick on, is because it's like, okay, like we know you're going to go to him and we know that it's a 50-50 shot if that ball's going to get in his hands or mine.
Specifically yours, actually. I'm going to go specifically at that. But I want to just say, and this is no offense to you, if Jimmy G throws a ball and it ends up in your hands, things have gone terribly wrong for San Francisco. True. And that's nothing.
I got hands, Tracy. I mean, you know what I'm saying? He's like, put me in, coach. I'm just saying, like,
and in a twist we did not see coming, Elisa Hernandez has intercepted Jimmy Garoppolo and running down the field. But what I hear you saying here, and I may be hearing incorrectly, is that you want George Kittle to have a really big playoff game on Sunday. You want this man to have over 100 yards.
I want to show.
You want to have a couple of touchdowns.
I want to show because you know what? OBJ has not had a 100-yard game, receiving yards with the Rams, and I want both of them to go off because I want a showing like the Bills and the Chiefs. Okay, I want everyone to have a big game, and then let the best team win. Well, unless you run out of time, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Well, that does become like a whole other thing.
Yeah, but I mean, OBJ, like I said, like if he gets over 100 yards, that breaks this game open because if he gets 100 yards, you're going to be looking at what Cooper Kupp has.
Right. And that is what's going to be very interesting when it comes to defending that receiving core, which I'm going to come back to in a minute. We'll talk a little bit about the 49ers secondary. But you brought up Jalen Ramsey, and he makes the most sense to cover Kittle just in terms of size. I think it just makes the most sense. And he's a very special football player. I mean, that Rams defense, you know what? I'm going to take out the word defense. That Rams team has so much like elite talent all over the place. Kind of going back to what we were talking about before, and I'm going to ask you a question that I like gave an answer to earlier, but I want to know your idea here.
Okay.
Your thoughts on this. They have gone all in. I mean, they have built a Super Bowl roster. They have built a Super Bowl team. Is anything less than a Super Bowl victory just an unacceptable season?
You're in LA, so yes.
I didn't want to say failure because that's
it's championship. It's championship or bust. Because you've already lived off the hype of winning, of going to the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? You went, you played Tom Brady. You already got that glory. Now that's over. What's next? That's how LA is. You know that. You love the Dodgers. We know as much as you love the Dodgers. It's like, but what's next? Okay, you got this guy, but what else? You know what I mean? And so
you brought them up. It's like Beetlejuice. You say Dodgers, and then the bobblehead just shows up.
Exactly. But it's one of those things that it is a championship or bust season because they've put their money where their mouth is. This isn't the first time they've stocked their defense. When they went to the Super Bowl, they had Talib. They had Donald. They had so many key pieces in place on their defense. And I think they did the same thing this time around. And so for this time, it's like, if you guys can't figure it out now, after defeating the defending champions, AKA the GOAT, like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? It's like this Cinderella needs to be yours. I mean, it can't be written any better. SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, Super Bowl 56, your road to get here, you defeat Kyler Murray, you defeat Tom Brady, you defeat your arch rivals, the 49ers. Let's say if you do that on Sunday, you go to the Super Bowl, and then you defeat, potentially, the team that beat you in 2019. I mean, the story writes itself. Now, it's really up to the Rams to say lights, camera, action.
It is up to, I like what you did there. You did like a Hollywood callback, and I'm very into that. I'm going to give you a big, just a clap.
I'll be here all pod. I'll be here all pod.
You'll be here all pod. I'm going to give you just an applause because that was really good. Lights, camera, action. And also, I think we just came up with the title of this episode. Fantastic. Really appreciate that.
It's the Believe connection. It's the Believe connection.
It is the Believe connection. I like it. We have like a Believe telepathy. Right. And I really like it. But you know what? You're right. You are 100% right. And if they lose on Sunday to the 49ers for the 7th straight time.
For the 4th time.
I mean, that would be just in the third time this season. I mean,
third time this season. Third time.
That would be rough for the Rams. That would definitely be rough.
Oh, 100%. Because of where do you go from here?
So then I have a question for you. I know I promised that we were going to talk about the 49ers secondary, and we will get to that. You know what? I'll just say this really quick. That secondary will have its hands full with Cooper Kupp and OBJ. That's right. It's the same secondary where you have rookie Ambry Thomas, who has shown tremendous strides over the last 6 weeks, intercepts Matthew Stafford to end the game. Emmanuel Mosley intercepted him in the last game in a pivotal time in the game. And I bring up Ambry Thomas, too, because that's really a couple of important injury things for the 49ers to keep in mind. Is you have Trent Williams, who Kyle Shanahan said Wednesday, if he can go, he will go. Yeah. So we will see what happens there. And he said that in Trent's mind, he's playing. And then I'm sure in Trent's mind, he is absolutely playing.
He's like, in my mind, I'm already there. Like, what?
Yeah, he's like, what? He's like, in my mind, the game has started, and I actually had a touchdown. Thank you very much, because that's a dream. Like, the dream of his is to have a touchdown reception. So he's like, in my mind, like, that's how the day has gone.
Right.
And then you have Ambry Thomas, who was injured for the Packers game, and Dante Johnson stepped in and really did a fantastic job. But they're going to need everybody at full strength for this one. But I'm moving on. I'm moving on to a new subject now, because I think I'd like your thoughts on this. How much do you think it comes into play? Because I do think there's a little of this going on, that the 49ers are in their heads.
Normally I wouldn't put too much focus on it, but after what I saw Sunday Night Football, Raiders, Chargers, I can see how being in your head ends up in the wrong. I mean
that the 49ers are in the Rams' heads.
Yeah. But it's true. I mean, it's that mindset though, because if you quick tangent going on to that Sunday Night Football game when they potentially could have tied. Right. And everyone's like, and then you call a timeout. And then it's like, oh, so you're trying to beat us. Okay, let's go kick this field goal and send you home. You know what I mean? I mean, and so it's one of those things where you're kind of neck and neck all the time. With that being said, going to the Niners, being in their heads being in the Rams' head or vice versa, it's one of those things more, I think, for the Rams, because I don't think the
Rams are not in the Niners' heads.
Yeah. I don't think so either. Like, it's one of those things.
The Niners have owned them, and they may lose on Sunday. I'm not saying because I think it's going to be a very tough matchup. And very well, but you're the Niners. You've owned this team. Sorry, continue.
No. But I mean, you've owned them in the sense of like, yes, we're the 49ers, but no one's going into this game thinking, oh, the Niners are gonna. It's like, no, the Rams better handle business. That's the storyline going into this. It's like, are you really gonna let them come in and steal your Super Bowl from you? Is that what you're gonna do? And then so it's like all eyes are on the Rams. They have the most power.
On the Rams.
Pressure's on the Rams. I agree, because the thing is if the 49ers lose this game, the narrative is the Rams did what they were supposed to do, given what they have on their team, given Sean McVay's resume, given all that stuff, the relationship with Kyle Shanahan, all that stuff. If the 49ers win this game in SoFi Stadium, that can potentially be a sea of red again. Because have you seen those ticket prices? It's, it's one of those things where it's just like, wow, Rams, now what? Are you going to be that what if team? Are you like, where do you go? Because realistically, what I said to you earlier before we like moved into this conversation is, where do you go from here? You got arguably the 4 best players on the planet on your team. You have a consistent quarterback who has proven himself so far in this playoffs. He didn't do it with the Lions, but he's been playing pretty well. And granted, I know that, that game went sideways in Tampa, but he also hit that big play to Cooper Kupp to win the game when pressure was on, got his team to the line, spiked the ball, got everything situated for the kicker to go on and win that game. That takes a level of mental strength to do. And so I think for them, it's like, if you lose this game, the 49ers will forever be in your head. It'll be just like Aaron Rodgers, where it's like, you just can't beat us, huh? And so the Rams aren't trying to be little brothers. The Rams are trying to be big brothers in California. They're the big brothers in LA, and they're just not trying to let this slip. They can't. It's not that they don't want to. They cannot allow the 49ers to come in and win this game.
And Sean McVay is very much Kyle Shanahan's little brother. And I think what we've seen thus far, and you brought up earlier Kyle Shanahan's ability to make second half adjustments, which is a strength of his.
Yeah.
It's definitely a strength of his against McVay, but it is quite a strength of Kyle Shanahan. So even the coaching matchup in this one is also going to be so much fun to watch, because
it's a chess match.
It's a chess match. And you have a chess match between two really, I don't think I'm overstating this, offensive geniuses. I mean, you really do. You have this chess match going on against the frenemies, the whole thing. And it's that in itself is going to be really fun to watch, and they will pull out all the stops. So I'm excited for that. And then you mentioned, of course, the Sea of Red. And this has been a big topic all week. Of course, in week 18, it was Levi Stadium South. There was more red in that stadium than there was blue, for sure. Yeah. This week, there was controversy that perhaps the Rams were trying to keep 49ers fans from being able to buy tickets. There were some zip code restrictions. Those have since kind of been lifted. But that kind of goes back to me with the idea of the being in their head. Like that's I'm not saying that that's what the team is focusing on.
Right. But there shouldn't be I get it. Yeah, I get it. Like if the wives say something or the fan base say something, but when the head coach is saying like, don't sell your tickets, I'm like, don't worry about that. Okay. How about y'all make sure these tickets are not $600 to sit up top? And then I guarantee you'll get a lot of Rams fans there. The thing is, that is such an interesting situation, because when I saw that on Twitter all week, the whole like Levi Stadium South, it reminded me, and I hate to say it, Rams fans, don't come at me, but it reminds me of when the Dodgers, what do we call Dodger Stadium South?
The Dodgers. Oh, the Padres?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's like they call it the Petco Park. And so
Petco Park,
exactly. And it's like that takeover happens whether you want to or not.
I just like that I named the stadium the Padres. You mean the Padres? That's the team. The stadium Petco. But yeah, it is Dodger Stadium South. You're right.
Exactly. And so it's like that dynamic, it's like you cannot let that storyline be. And the thing is, like, again, it's like I get it. I do get it. Like the coach comes out and he's up, but I'm like, I kind of wish you didn't say anything, because to me as the opposing team, me as the opposing fan base, I'm just like, oh, I'm coming. Like, you just gave me more incentive to come to this game, come in full red and take over the stadium. And so it's one of those things that just naturally teams have traveled well to SoFi Stadium. And that has a really big play, because LA went without a team for so long, so everyone here has kind of found different teams to root for, because there was such a big gap, and so I think the Rams, a lot is on the line with this city, it's like, because we do like winners. You cannot become Levi Stadium South. Also, it's like, if you want to win this game and you win the Super Bowl, key to the city, here you go. You know what I'm saying? It's like everywhere you're going to look, it's like that's what we need from you. And again, like I said before, it's championship or bust for this team. That's what I think. Because at that point, like, what do? You rebuild? Do you re-sign OBJ to a long-term deal? Do you sign Vaughn again? Do you let him go? What do you do with Robert Woods when he comes back? What do you do with Sean McVay? I mean, there's so many things that happen that you don't need to answer those questions if you just win. Winning solves everything.
And this town is a Dodger town and a Laker town. It is not a Rams town, and it has there. Yes, and I would love that. I love your Kobe stuff today. But that's what this town is. So if the Rams want to compete in that, I think that a couple years ago when the Rams were in the Super Bowl, and I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but when they were in the Super Bowl a few years ago playing the Patriots, if you went and looked for articles in LA about the Rams, they were going to the Super Bowl, and the Dodgers, who it was January, so the pitchers and catchers hadn't even reported camp yet. The Dodgers and the Lakers were above them. Like, I want to say like 9. Like, I think the Rams number 9, and they were going to the Super Bowl. So you've got a very star-studded team, as you said before, lights, camera, action. It's Super Bowl victory or bust. I mean, it really is. They can't even, because they go to the Super Bowl and then lose it at SoFi Stadium. That's almost as bad as not going at all.
That's PTSD. How are you going to go to work next season? You know what I'm saying? It's like you're always going to remember like the confetti that wasn't yours. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's one of those things that because you've gotten this far and you look back at who you defeated, you look back at those victories and things like that. You know, you just can't. And I do think the Rams are going to win. I mean, that is my pick. Because there's just too much on the line. And like I said, like the story is too good. You know what I mean? The football life, the America's game that we run on NFL Network, it writes itself. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, all you got to do is win. Like, just go and win. Like, and then everything else will take care of itself. You'll have a parade. You know what I'm saying? Like, you'll bring this city together. Like, it'll be one of those things that you just need to do. And so I know too much is riding on this game. And I know everyone's just like, Elisa, is it that serious? I'm like, no, it is though. Because
in sports terms, yes, it is.
It is.
Well, so my counterpoint is, I think it's funny, and this is what is the best part about sports and all of this, is that you could make the argument that the football life story is perfect for the 49ers. You have a team they traded up for the new quarterback. The coach went with Jimmy Garoppolo, the embattled QB1. I will never understand the amount of hate he gets, but that's a whole different podcast. But the embattled QB1, this team is 3-5. He's stuck with the quarterback. They bounce back, and they have found these crazy ways to win. They come back from a 17-point deficit in week 18. They go to Dallas to get in the playoffs. They go to Dallas, just kind of dominate the Cowboys. Of course, there was the late surge, and again, that's like a whole other podcast. But let's say for the Dallas be Dallas, and let's say they dominated the majority of the game, and then they go into Green Bay. Green Bay, the number 1 seed, has a bye week.
Super Bowl favorite.
Presumptive MVP at quarterback, who's 0-3 at the time against this team. He can't possibly lose the game. It's literally 2 degrees at kickoff. It is so cold. It starts snowing and Lambeau Field, the whole thing. And they
bleachers. And they have bleachers. Like, they
did have bleachers. And they have your girl here was in a press box. Thank God. It was lovely and toasty. But yes, they have bleachers. So they're snowing all the elements, and they somehow win that game to return to SoFi Stadium where so you could, to be honest with you, there is going to be a football life about one of these two teams. It's just a matter of which of these two teams is going to be.
Exactly. Like the America's game that comes out, or the football life that comes out, is going to be must-watch TV. The storylines are too good. I'm not even worried about the AFC. Like, I'm just like,
the AFC, and the AFC will be, I think Kansas City ends up winning that game, but I'm not counting out the Bengals on anything. But Kansas City just looks, they just look
ridiculous.
They kind of look a cut above everybody, but I don't want to upset. I don't want to upset our NFC fans.
I'm just saying the way that they got it together was just.
It's another football life story.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
That is another one. Well, all right. So, I think we've hit everything, and I'm really excited about it. You're picking the Rams.
I am.
I'm picking the 49ers. I think we were going to do keys to victory. I think we did it. I think we totally did all the things. So here are the only things we're going to do.
Natural.
Yeah. Just, you guys, it's our belief telepathy. We're just that good. Just that good. The only thing I would like each of us to do is pick I want you to let me know who you think the X factor is going to be for the Rams, and I'll let you know who I think it's going to be for San Francisco.
Ooh, overall. We talked about OBJ. We talked about Cup. My X factor is going to be Von Miller. Now, the reason I say that is not just because, he's my former Bronco and Super 50 champion.
It's like a little bit because of that, but it's fine.
But it's because, they're bringing him in to do what he did during that championship run. They're bringing him in to bring that playoff experience, to bring that. I mean, you don't think they picked his brain when they went to go play Brady? You know what I mean? And so, they beat Brady to go to that Super Bowl in that crazy AFC championship game. So he is that factor because he needs to play the way he's been playing all playoffs. The way they contained Kyler Murray, the way that they got to Tom Brady quickly, the fumble he had on Tom Brady rarely makes mistakes. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the fact that they were able to get to him at the way that they had played a big part with that, because if you prepare for Donald, obviously you need to, but you leave a little wiggle room, he gets that left arm out, his left arm out, you're going down. And so I think they really need him to put the pressure on Jimmy G, and they need him to complement Aaron Donald so that Aaron Donald can be who he needs to be. But Vaughn needs to come in and really bring that pressure on the other side. So I think if he can do that, man, Jimmy G's going to have a long day.
And I think the health of Trent Williams becomes a big factor in that situation. The 49ers X Factor, obviously, we've talked about Deebo Samuel. We've talked about George Kittle. We haven't talked as much about Elijah Mitchell, but obviously he's been an incredible draft pick for them. But I am going to go with an X Factor I've picked before earlier in the season. It is Mr. Third Down Jauan Jennings, because that man comes up with the big play, and he's like their third down master. And he's been that way forever since he started to get an opportunity in about middle of the season. Mm-hmm. And I think Jauan Jennings becomes an X factor because the other thing with Jauan is he's such an incredible blocker. Yeah. That he's such an important part of this offense in ways that people don't necessarily always see. I would say a close second to that is Kyle Juszczyk, because I think the way that they use him and the way that he performs in that role is pretty spectacular. Yeah. But I'm going to give it today. I'm going to give it to my guy, Jauan Jennings. And also because his energy is so fun and it's just great. So that's what I'm going with. So that is that. That's my pick. 49ers win is my pick. Rams win is your pick. Lisa, we got a big day on Sunday. I'm excited.
I'm so excited. I can't wait. And honestly, we didn't even get to we didn't really touch on our running backs, but I think this game is won through the air, just with the offensive power that we got. But I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's going to be a crucial fourth and one at some point that either you guys are going to stop, the Rams are going to stop, or one of us is going to convert. And I think that's going to be one of those key moments in the game.
And this is actually a literal fact. There is no better quarterback sneaker than Jimmy Garoppolo. He is literally perfect at quarterback sneak. So we'll see if it comes down to that. And, you brought up the run game. So I will quickly say before we wrap, for the 49ers, it's a huge key, because what has given them success in this run is the strong run game, efficiency on third down and taking care of the football and creating turnovers. So we shall see. It all comes down to Sunday, NFC Championship game. Don't miss it. Elisa, this was so fun. Thank you so much for joining me. Yay. And then after that, we can go right back to
being friends again.
Baseball besties.
That's right.
And I say goodbye.
I'm saying, so it's a very interesting tandem for my Dodger 49ers fans or Rams 49ers fans. It's gonna be a fun weekend in LA, and this is why you love the playoffs. So enough said.
Absolutely. And with that, if you guys like what you heard, which I know that you did, please make sure to leave us a 5-star review. Follow us on Instagram at Fangirl Sports Network. Elisa, where can everybody find you?
Find me at Hernandez_LA.
We will talk to everybody next week, and, go California. Bye, all.